Welcome to the Tough Decisions Network for Entrepreneurs. I'm Dan Handford, and my wife, Dennae, and I interview successful people sharing stories behind tough decisions that they've had to make along their journey as an entrepreneur. On the podcast with us today is Tamar Mar. Tamar, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Tamar. We are looking forward to chatting with you for a few minutes and learning from your experiences. And we like to have our guests just start off with giving us a little bit of background about themselves as an entrepreneur. And then also, if you will, tell us exactly where your focus is right now.
You bet. I consider myself an opportunist and a serial entrepreneur at this point, although in the past I had about 20 years of startup and small business experience that led me to leave my corporate gig in January of 2017. And shortly thereafter, I purchased a company and then I started my real estate syndication business. So my current area of focus is purchasing underperforming multifamily assets with my investor partners that come along with me passively for the ride.
That is awesome, Tamar. What markets are you looking in?
Well, I live in the Seattle area, and I do not actually invest in Seattle, but I will invest anywhere from an hour to 5 hours away in the state of Washington. So I have a property about an hour south of here. I have two properties in eastern Washington, about 4 hours away, and I have one in Ohio. So my area of focus is different markets in Washington state that are secondary or tertiary markets with some growth potential and stabilized, economies and such. But I also have conversations going with friends and potential partners all over the country that have boots on the ground in different markets. And again, like I said, I'm an opportunist, so I'm not necessarily looking other places, but if somebody brings something to me and the data is compelling enough, then I will jump all over that bad boy.
What's the number one thing you like about the multifamily real estate side of the investing business?
The number one thing, I don't know. I like a lot of it. I have fun because I get to talk to people all the time. Truly, I like talking to people. But there's great opportunities for cash flow, for appreciation, for tax benefits. And I really like taking the challenge of taking a junky property and turning around and making it into something that's more livable and desirable for our tenant base. And we did that for years with single family houses. We'd buy them sight unseen on auction. And I loved that. And sometimes you just take something and nobody else can really see that it's going to be a great property in the future, but I can see that kind of stuff. So I like the whole challenge of putting together a business plan and making it come through to fruition.
And what size assets do you usually look for as far as like the number of doors?
Number of doors right now, my largest is 56 units. My smallest is 15 units, and I have a bunch in between of there. Size, it really kind of depends on what market I'm purchasing in, because my latest acquisition in Ohio is 56 units, but it was 1.475 million, I think. And then it's funny when you lose track of all, you have a bunch of assets and you can't remember what you paid for them. But I have another property that's less than half that size, 26 units, and it was 2.35 million. So right now I'm looking for deals that are in between 2 and 5 million to take down in early 2019.
Awesome. Well, I know you've probably made several tough decisions along this journey in the multifamily real estate business. And I want you to start us off by talking about one that had a not so good outcome. Like I call it the sore thumb tough decision, but I want you to also talk about some of the lessons you learned through that tough decision.
Oh, I can think of one right away. And I didn't even prep for this interview. So the biggest tough decision I had to make in the last year was I fired a contractor that I never really actually hired. And when I say that, it's because I had an apartment complex. It was a smaller one. It was like 16 units. I just had two partners in on that deal that was our friends. We had some verbal agreements on the scope of work and what was going to be the cost of that scope. And I kept on going after him in the way of like, can you write this down? Let's get this in writing. And he was delaying. And sure enough, the property closed. And as soon as the property closed, then the price went up a couple $100,000 and the timeline kept on getting pushed back. And so I had to not utilize him and utilize my property manager instead, which it's been a headache ever since because we couldn't get the project done. It was a massive renovation project. And I think in that hindsight is 2020 all the time. But when you have a referral come through for somebody and you're counting on that person to be really great and execute your business plan, have lots of backups. So now my favorite motto is just to have plan A, B, C, and D. And whether it comes to contractors, property managers, or whatever it is that you're working with in entrepreneurship, that happens in some of my other businesses that I have as well. But have backup plans and don't be scared to utilize them, and utilize them a lot faster than you think you should. Because the longer you wait to make a decision to change strategies in the middle of something, the worse it's going to probably end up being.
So were you able to end the relationship with this particular contractor before it delayed you too much?
Well, yes and no. I mean, luckily, again, like we own 70% of that property and it's our close friends that are in it. So it's not like I had a ton of people that I'd let down if we didn't move forward fast enough. But I like moving at the speed of light. So any delay for me is always a little bit troublesome. But it cost us months for sure. And we're still working on that renovation. And I actually just had to change property managers because the one that I was using did not have the bandwidth to take care of the project for me through all of his connections. So that was a tough decision that came out of a tough decision, was changing property managers in light of this and being able to utilize somebody else that had a lot more connections in the market.
So let's shift here a little bit, Tamar, and talk about a tough decision that you've had to make as an entrepreneur that had a really good and positive outcome, and some of those lessons.
Ooh, I have a great story from recently. So in 2017, early 2017, my husband and I and my cousin, who's like my little brother, we partnered to purchase a 40-year-old fitness equipment retailer, a high-end fitness equipment retailer that's been in the Pacific Northwest for 40 years. And we came alongside my cousin because he didn't have the resources and he felt like he also didn't have the experience to take over the business. And so he came to us and said, Tamar and Bruce, I'd really like your help. You know, you're the first people that I would go to. So we partnered with him on that. And actually just this last Saturday night, it's been a decision that's been taking months and months and months. But ultimately what we decided to do is hand him back the business. And we felt like all of the mentoring that I've done with him over the past year and a half, 2 years, it has enabled him to take off his training wheels and take that company and fly on his own. So we just signed papers on Saturday night, just a couple days ago, to make that transition. And I think the good that it was a tough decision in that he didn't feel like he was ready, but we could see in him that he was ready. You know, sometimes when you just don't see it in yourself, but other people believe in you. So that's why it took so long to make the decision on the timing and such. But everything that has come out of it has been phenomenal. And mostly the relationships that has grown between my cousin and I, my business partner, and watching him really grow up, so to speak, in the business and take ownership on his own.
So for generalization here and for our audience, what kinds of things, characteristics did you see in him that, let you know that he was ready to take this on his own, just so we can sort of generalize and take some lessons out of that?
Well, at the very beginning, when we sat down before we purchased the business, he had a list of all the things that he was scared of, so to speak. So there was probably about 40 different things on that list. I might be exaggerating a little bit, but there was at least 25 to 30, maybe 40. And these are things like anywhere from payroll to taxes to ordering supplies and everything in there. And over the course of time, it's not like we've sat down with that list, but I just know that all of those things that were on there at the very beginning, he has had enough experience with them where he feels comfortably uncomfortable. So I always think in business, you need to be comfortably uncomfortable, or uncomfortably comfortable, however you want to put it, but just be pushed out of your comfort zone enough that it'll stretch you. And we had conversations about all those things. I had seen his confidence go up in himself and in the business quite a bit over that time. And I also saw this changing of him that was, I guess, kind of a humility that came over the course of time of coming. He came into the business and he wanted everybody, since, he had worked there for 13 years, but all of a sudden they wanted him to be he wanted to be perceived as the boss, the person in charge. And I think over time he realized that he needed to earn that respect. And then slowly, as he became more firm but gentle with people, then he was earning that respect. And it just really changed his approach to management. And that was something that I think needed to happen before he had the reins in his hand on his own.
Well, that's really neat. I'm sure it was very satisfying to see, that growth in him and then be able to hand him back that business.
Yeah, it was very satisfying.
Talk a little bit about some of the strategies that you use when you are facing a tough decision.
Well, I believe that the number one thing you can be in entrepreneurship to help you be successful is resourceful. And I talk that up all day, every day to people, is that I never have all the information. I don't know, never is a strong word, but I feel like I never have all the information that I need to make the decision that I would need to make, meaning there's always going to be missing pieces to the puzzle, always. But if you have a great network of people that you can reach out to, if you know how to search for answers, I mean, for heaven's sake, everything is at our fingertips these days. So we can either find things through a podcast or a book or Googling it or calling somebody or texting somebody who has experience in that particular area, then we can be better attuned to make great decisions. So resourcefulness is something that I believe in very heavily.
All right, we are going to take a quick break and hear from one of our show sponsors. When we come back, we'll talk to Tamar about some of her favorites as it relates to her life as an entrepreneur.
Have you ever thought about investing in real estate, but find yourself so busy that you don't have time for it? Do you have FOMO, which is the fear of missing out? At HanfordCapital.com, we help investors with passive real estate investments that project better returns than traditional investment vehicles such as the stock market. If you'd like to find out more about our passive real estate investments, visit HanfordCapital.com. That's HANDFORD Capital.com. We will jump on a call with you to discuss your investment goals and to see if our investments are a good fit for you. This advertisement is not to be construed as an offer or recommendation to buy or sell a security. Visit HanfordCapital.com. And we are back with Tamar Mar. Tamar, we are going to go through a series of quick questions and answers that we call the trifecta. And I want you to start us off by talking about your most favorite technology that you use in business that helps make your life easier every day.
I guess the two biggest ones are my Google Calendar and Dropbox, because I can use both of those out in the field as I'm never working in the same place every day. And they keep me on track.
And what's a favorite quote that you've heard that has helped you as an entrepreneur?
Never, never, never give up by Winston Churchill. I have it hanging on my wall.
And a favorite book that has helped you in your decision making?
My favorite book this year, two of them. One of them is Shoe Dog by the creator of Nike, and why can't I remember his name right now? It's an autobiography. And the other one is the biography on Tesla guy. Why am I forgetting his name too? Gosh, I feel like I'm on the spot.
Elon Musk. I know his name.
Like, why is it that I forgot Elon Musk's name? So that one in particular made me realize how when people think really big, they change the world in really impactful ways. And it challenged me to think better or think bigger in business and in life. And I want to impact people's lives in a big way. And I think that can be done through everything that we do in life, whether we're meeting people on the street and smiling at them or having a great conversation with them, or if we're doing phenomenal things with our business or with our investments, it can go a long way. So I'm thinking big these days.
What's the next thing for you right now, Tamar, on your vision or dream board?
Ooh, well, I have a couple things. In personal life is we are building our dream house on a 4-acre waterfront parcel of land on an island about an hour south of Seattle. So we're working on that. And for business, I'm hoping to take down about $10 million worth of assets in 2019. So I'm ramping up with that, with refining my business strategies at the end of 2018 here.
That's pretty exciting. I love the big goals and setting those ahead of time. You already got your goals set for 2019. That's great.
Yeah, totally.
Well, how can the listeners reach out to you if they want to follow you more or contact you?
Yeah, I have a podcast. It's called Investing for Life. So you can find that at iTunes, Stitcher, or investingforlifepodcast.com. And you can also reach out to me via my website, Marota Group, which is MAROTA group.com. I'd love to hear from you.
And we'll make sure that we add all of those to our show notes, which can be found at toughdecisions.net, so that all of the listeners can have those easily accessible to them. Tamar, thank you so much for taking some time out of your schedule today to be with us, and we look forward to continuing to follow you as you continue to grow as an entrepreneur, and looking forward to having you on a future episode.
My pleasure. Thanks so much, you guys.
Thank you for listening to the Tough Decisions Network. Be sure to visit toughdecisions.net to gain access to show notes for this episode and to join our free weekly entrepreneur email, where we will send you news about the latest technology for your business, inspiring quotes, and the latest books for entrepreneurs. That's toughdecisions.net.